Why is Twilight Princess so rare? Let's be honest. Whether or not you are a new or old fan of the game, you've most likely looked it up to find a copy for yourself. And to your dismay, you've discovered the prices on these copies are not ideal for your budget. Before Twilight Princess was released, Nintendo was in a tight spot. The PS2 had just come out, and the Xbox was in the works. They needed a new console fast. The result of this was the GameCube. Around a year after the GameCube's release, The Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker was put on shelves, offering new things for the Legend of Zelda game line, like the cel-shaded game style as well as the detailed overworld exploration through boat. And now you may be wondering why I'm talking about Wind Waker. This is a video about Twilight Princess, right? And you'd be correct. You'd see, Nintendo had released a mini-movie of sorts, a tech demo, before Wind Waker was released, teasing the game with a more realistic style, where we see Link and Ganondorf fighting. This teaser trailer excited fans and did wonders throughout the fanbase. However, when the official Wind Waker game would release, it was completely different stylistically than what was shown. And here's why. After the teaser was shown, a director with Nintendo had stressed the style was not what they wanted for the Zelda game line at all, stating in an interview with the press, and I quote, "It wasn't the Zelda I wanted to make," end quote. In fact, Wind Waker was supposed to have a direct sequel, but in its place, because of the fan demand, Twilight Princess was created. Now, at its original release on the GameCube, it was very successful and won countless Game of the Year awards. And when it released on the Wii, it was received good as well, but during those releases, limited copies and runs were made, not to mention it was released on a console that wasn't originally very popular at the time, so finding a copy in the present day that isn't super expensive is rare. Popularity. Twilight Princess, then and now, is one of the most loved or hated in the Legend of Zelda franchise. To my knowledge, apparently there's people who think Twilight Princess was a terrible addition to the Legend of Zelda game lineup, and wasn't a good game at all. But from what I've seen and heard whilst researching, I found quite the opposite, where it hasn't fallen below an A on people's tier lists. Twilight Princess was a very popular game for multiple reasons, of course with its own downfalls, but nonetheless still very awesome. Now, contrary to what I've said, there actually wasn't much that the game actually introduced besides the aesthetic and when you'd play as Link's wolf form. But instead of introducing us to new innovative features, they built on previous ones. For one, like Wind Waker, you could explore the overworld, but this time, it's not mainly by sea. Besides that, playing as Link became easier, with new sword movements and controls, moving him around pretty much better than before, some wishing they'd bring it to newer games. Obviously, when taking into consideration why Twilight Princess is so popular, contributing to its rarity, we need to discuss the game itself. Fans displayed pretty cut-in-half reactions towards the beginning of the game, where you spent several days in Link's village getting to know the other characters and helping out. People discussing their distaste for the slow start, whilst others pleased with the drawn-out intro to the game, claiming it helped with the development of the story and the player's sentiment to the characters, such as the kids. In my opinion, I agree with the second half of players. The beginning of the game gives us a big motive whilst playing, so it's pretty perfect. Twilight Princess also gives us great character development, a good example being our very own companion, Midna, who when you first meet her is snarky and tries to tease you by transforming into your captured friends, but whilst playing we see her open up. She gives us many dialogues responding to things happening, where she realizes how important and dire the attack on Hyrule is. We are rightfully annoyed with her during the first moments, but when she is on the brink of death, we rush to save her, not because we want to move on in the game, but because she's become such a crucial part of why we are playing, and the emotions we go through because of her. The storytelling is also very nicely done, and although fans may have some cons for getting through the many challenges in the game, the dungeons, yes, a little tricky to reach sometimes, were very detailed and had super cool themes. Moving on, I want to talk about the music. The music is amazing. When I tell you every soundtrack syncs perfectly with what you're doing and where you are and what time of day it is insane. Besides Sam and Max, I'd say the music for Twilight Princess is super high up on my list. Not only that, but we can hear development of characters and their themes as well. Going back to Midna, her theme changes constantly with different scenes, changing its tone slightly to a happier sounding theme when they beat a boss, and even at the very end of the game, you can hear it in the final song. You are basically serenaded throughout the entire game, even if you were to just stand in the field AFK. Speaking of the finale, it was super satisfying. And spoiler alert if you hadn't already noticed, when we finally get Ganondorf on his last leg and he is struggling to move, Zant takes the last hit on him, and let me just say, it sent shivers down my spine watching it occur. And the game doesn't even stop there. It has an ending for its ending, a post-credits scene contributing to just how cinematic this game turned out to be. This scene leaving many players emotional, as Midna, even after saving Hyrule with Link, chooses to break the portal to the Twilight Realm and trap herself there just to stop any future harm from getting them. Leaving them with her last words, quote, "See you later," unquote. And all of this contributing to why fans love the game so much, its ability to bring their story full circle to a satisfying conclusion whilst also making you feel something for every character you meet along the way. Now, some may ask, why did this game end up being so important to Nintendo and its fans? Well, if we hadn't had Twilight Princess, games like Breath of the Wild wouldn't have ever come out. I mean, I'm gonna contradict myself right now. They would have eventually come out, but they wouldn't have been as good as they are without Twilight Princess's success. All of these being the popularity and demand it has, as well as the late release on the unpopular console with limited copies, all contributed to why we ask the question today: why is Twilight Princess so rare? Thank you for watching, and if you found anything in this video interesting at all, make sure to go check out my other videos, leaving feedback in the comments, or subscribing. Let me know what you'd like to hear next, and I'll see you next time.